and welcome back to the Taft Heritage Show. I'm your host, Hannah Morris, and I'll be answering questions you may have on today's guest. He's a well-known staff member, and you'll likely see him in the cafeteria or going to C-Tech. Let's hope you don't see him in his office, though. Let us introduce Mr. Morris.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Mr. Morris, how'd you get your first job here at Taft High, and what are your past jobs before becoming what you do today?
So my first job at Taft High was as a substitute teacher in 1999, and I also was a JV girls soccer coach. And so I ended up getting a long-term sub job in 2001, and then went to prison for about 3 years. As soon as I got out of prison, I got a job teaching. Oh, I worked in prison, sorry. I got a job at Vista West High School in Bakersfield teaching English and history, and then I moved over to Taft High in 2010. And so I was a history teacher for 15 years. We needed a dean, and so I went for it and became the dean in, I think that would be October 2023, and I've been doing that since then. And so I enjoy my dean job very much. It's a new and different challenge, and I enjoy doing it.
So did you go to high school here at Taft High?
Yes, class of 1995, the greatest Taft High class of all time.
Debatable.
We had 5 valedictorians in the class of 1995, and 1 salutatorian. I'm not bitter, but I am. So yeah, that was me. So there should have been 6 valedictorians, but yeah, 1995, the 90s, great time to grow up. No cell phones. It was wonderful.
So what was the first thing that came to mind when you think back to your time at Taft High? Like any sports, any specific classes or teachers, or just that you were salutatorian?
No, I played soccer for 4 years. Ms. Shonawise, I had her for 2 years. That was glorious. Mr. Kopp was here at the time. He was a great history teacher. Let's see, Mr. Ackerman was our government econ teacher. Yeah, Mr. Hyder was science. There was a bunch of great teachers here at the time, and it was kind of fun coming back as a substitute teacher and then as a actual teacher and still working with some of those people that were your teachers back in the day. And like Mr. Hyder, I don't think I ever could bring myself to call him Harold. I was called Mr. Hyder. So, Shoney I could call Carolyn if I wanted to, but yeah, some of the teachers you just don't do it just because I guess it's a respect thing maybe. Or it just feels weird.
Yeah. So when you think back to your freshman year to your senior year, how did you change, I guess? And then, actually, we'll save that for later. How did you change from your freshman to senior year?
Well, you definitely mature. I think that goes for everybody. You mature. You get some life experiences in, and you kind of figure out how things work, and you don't do the stupid, silly things that you used to. So, I was probably an annoying freshman for sure, and probably a little less annoying senior, I would hope.
So did you attend any schools before Taft High besides like middle school?
So I was a Midway Tiger. I grew up in Derby Acres and went to Fellows to Midway School for 9 years. And so coming from Midway to here was quite a change. I think I adjusted well. But yeah, my graduating class at Midway was 14 students. And then, here we're going to have a class of 200 to 300 students. So it was quite a change, and I got to ride the bus a lot. So yeah, the bus from Derby Acres to Taft was a good 30, 40 minutes every single day back and forth. So
your family's from Derby Acres?
Yep. I'm 4th generation Derby Acian. And so, people will be like, are you Irish? And I'm like, never been to Ireland. I'm Derby Acian because that's where my father was from and his father before that. And then I didn't pay any attention to the history prior to that. It doesn't matter. Derby Acres for life.
So how'd you end up in Taft?
So I went to UCLA for 2 years. So I graduated in 1995, went to Taft College for 2 years. Once I was done there, I transferred to UCLA. I followed Mr. Ussery everywhere, so he went to UCLA, so I had to go to UCLA. And so we were roommates, and I enjoyed LA for 2 years. It was nice, but I'm a firearms enthusiast, and there's not a lot of legal places to shoot in LA. And I try to follow the law as much as possible, so I had to come back to Taft. And I actually ended up living just 2 blocks down on San Emilio, and rented a house with my sister, 2-bedroom house. And so she paid the bills, and I think I paid the rent, or vice versa. And we just kind of did our professional life. She was working at the rec, and I was substitute teaching. And so we kind of did that for a few years till Mrs. Morris came along and took all my money. And so that was a good experience at the time. And Taft was a good place to be. Like, it's pretty nice town. I could make decent money substitute teaching, so it was a nice experience. I enjoyed it. Like, you had the freedom back then too of just not, you you could substitute teach and be done for the day, and then you're done for the day. Like, you don't have to do lesson plan, anything like that. So it was pretty nice. Saved a lot of money, and kind of was enjoying life. And then, kind of went downhill once Mrs. Morris and I got together, and I ended up in prison. So, but again, as a teacher, not as an inmate.
So you said you went to UCLA. Did you take any honors or AP classes while you were in high school that would help you with that?
For sure. So my high school experience was very interesting. Coming from Midway, you never got straight A's at Midway. It just wasn't going to happen. The PE class was almost impossible. If you weren't presidential physical fitness, like, you weren't going to get an A. And so when I got to Taft High my first semester, I got all A's and 1 B. I got a B in Intro to Computers. And I think it was because Mrs. Myers just didn't like me because I was probably an annoying freshman. And so I was pretty happy, though. I was like, all A's and a B, I'll take it. Like, parents didn't seem too upset. That was my only B in high school. So yeah, I was definitely a nerd. Probably still am. And so basically, yeah, I took AP. We didn't have as many offerings as you guys do today with honors, but starting our junior year, we had AP English and AP History. We didn't have any AP Science or Honors Science or Math. But basically, I took all the hard classes. So that's why that 1 B ended up costing me. And that's why I was salutatorian and not valedictorian. But once I got to Taft College seemed easier than Taft High. It just did, because those classes that we took here were pretty rigorous. And so Taft College was pretty easy, small class sizes. And UCLA was not that hard either. I was poli-sci major, government major. So it wasn't too bad. I enjoyed working probably more than I enjoyed going to class. But I must have paid attention because I still keep up on politics and kind of how all that stuff works today.
So you got Staff of the Year for the yearbook this last year, right? Or was
yeah,
it the year
they
before
dedicated
that?
it to, they always pick somebody that they want to honor or dedicate the yearbook to. And that was a huge honor to be, have the 24-25 yearbook dedicated to me. That was really awesome.
How do you think that you earned that?
Well, as dean, I try not to, there's accountability, but I also don't, I'm not going to spend a ton of time, lecturing students and, you should have done this or you should have done that. I'll go over, kind of like if you were to get in trouble, which, obviously Hannah's never been in my office, but, if she ends up in my office, hey, you ditched when you weren't supposed to. Like, here's your punishment. Go serve your, your detentions and, do better. So when you treat students with respect and you're just like, hey, here's what you did wrong. Here's what I'd recommend in order to avoid this in the future, and go do your time, and then, be good, and you won't be back in my office. Like, I don't think you make a ton of enemies that way. And so you just treat them with people with respect. I think, students appreciate that. And I do a lot of things outside of discipline too. I run the Interact Club and other things on campus, and, work with the band on their trips and things of that nature. I just went on an FFA trip. So, when you're friendly to students and, you're respectful of them, they tend to respect you back. And even if you got to get people in trouble, even if you got to hold people accountable, like, they respect it because that you're fair and that you try not to play favorites and be inconsistent. So as long as you're consistent and fair to people and a little bit understanding, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but there's still some consequences. It doesn't seem like it's that hard of a job.
So when you started teaching at Taft High, you started teaching history, right?
Correct.
So what made you decide to come back to teach at Taft High specifically?
The money. Taft High paid really well. So when I was teaching at Vista West High School, so it was a continuation school over in Bakersfield, and continuation was an easy gig. And continuation sometimes gets a bad rap because people, think only the bad kids go there. But in Bakersfield, like, you'd have a whole variety of students. Like, you'd have students that you might have in a general ed class here, on a comprehensive campus, and you might have like super high-end AP kids because everybody's behind on credit for one reason or another. And sometimes it's beyond their control. Your parent gets sick and you got to stay home and take care of them. You got to make up on your credits. You might be very sharp in my class, and you might be next to, somebody who struggles more in school. And so, those were decent kids, and the hours were good because you didn't have to do all the extra duty and all that. So it was really kind of a nice secret, because the comprehensive teachers kind of look down the continuation teachers like, oh, you teach a continuation. I'm like, heck yeah, I teach a continuation. Like, these are decent kids that do decent things, and I still follow a lot of them on Facebook to this day. And in fact, I was just bragging about Mr. Moe, one of our substitutes here at the high school. He was one of my students at Vista West, and and he's been very successful and doing good things with his life. So continuation is not a bad gig, but Taft is where I was living, so I was commuting every day, And so I got rid of the commute, which, cost gas money. And I got paid, I think like at the time, $800 more a month just to work at Taft High. So it was kind of a no-brainer. Plus, I think Mrs. Morris was really happy. I apologize earlier. I kind of talked trash about Miss Morris, but obviously we're in love and love each other since we've been married for 23 years. So, she's actually a good thing, But, she was here and she really was excited to teach together as well. So that's why I wanted to make that transition from, continuation in Bakersfield to Taft High. Plus, I got to do a little coaching and things of that nature, so that was kind of fun too.
So out of curiosity, how did you meet Miss Morris?
So it was at a Billy and Krista party, is how that happened. Billy Long and Krista Bindle Long, they're prominent members of our community. We go to church together. And so I think I met her even, I can't remember if it was before or after I graduated at UCLA, but we had come back and we would play games and hang out at Krista's mom's house. And I remember Mrs. Morris was there one day, well, Miss Poticella. And it's like, she's kind of cute. She's kind of outgoing. But she was madly in love with somebody you might be familiar with.
Oh.
His name was Casey Morris, and I do believe that's your father. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Morris blood, as your Uncle Jeremiah would say, and Hannah and I are not related at all. That's the funny thing.
No.
Is like there's no relation there. But I grew up next door to her father and her two uncles, and same last name Morris. We kind of look similar, no relation. And so everybody's always thought that we're related when we're not. But
No.
She was madly in love with your father. That sounds so funny now. And so like we were just kind of buddies, and then eventually, that fell apart there. And then, we were just always kind of the odd couple out. And so we decided, it was kind of fun though, because we were just friends like for the longest time. And eventually, we started to grow feelings for each other, and then, we kind of went from there. That's a fun question. Good job.
So what clubs were you involved in high school? I know you're involved with the Interact Club as a staff member. Were you involved in any clubs in high school?
So it wasn't really until my senior year that I started getting involved in clubs, and then I was in everything. So Interact, Key Club, I don't think it was an S Club, but we had CSF back then. So yeah, I was in as many clubs as I could be. It was a lot of fun. We got to go do a lot of things.
That's fun. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties. So is there any family members of yours? I know Mrs. Morris teaches here. Any other family that go to school here or even work here?
So yeah, I've got my son, Elijah. He's a junior. And my cousin, Gary, my dad's cousin, Gary Morris. He was a staff member here not too long ago. Trying to think if there was anybody else. That's probably about it. Lily Morris, our daughter, will be coming through 2 years.
Is there any teacher or any just staff member here that you went to high school with?
Oh yeah, no, there's quite a few.
I know you mentioned Mr. Usry.
Yep, Mr. Usry and I were classmates. Carrie Fivecoat out of the attendance office. Yolanda Hodges out of the registrar's office. She's class of '95. There's a bunch. I know I'm probably forgetting a few, but yeah, no, there's quite a few of us 95ers around, and not just here at Taft High, but all over the community. There's a lot of us still around.
So since you're a Taft High alumni, do you feel more connected to the community now than you did when you were in high school?
Probably, and that's probably mainly through my membership with Rotary. And also I have the side business as well as a federal firearms licensee. So yeah, I feel pretty connected to the community, and and sometimes I'm a little vocal about activism around here as well. So I learned well from Dr. Pease at Taft College about responsible government and speaking out and making your voice heard, as well as from Mr. Ackerman and Mr. Kopp. So I feel pretty connected to the community, and have won a few service awards just because I think that's a good thing to do, is to serve the community and serve others. So whatever we can do in whatever aspect to do that, I find joy in that. So I feel pretty connected. But that started also when I was at Taft High, because we had a community service requirement then. So it kind of teaches you to be involved in your community. I used to ref AYSO, volunteer there, I think, while I was in college. So, there's always something to do in your community, and I think that came from our teachers at Taft High, who kind of instilled that in us.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave here at TUHS?
Ooh, that's a deep one. I don't know if I live so much for a legacy, to be honest with you. I just kind of live day to day and try to, establish a good character and have integrity and do the right thing and I'll be known as what I'm going to be known as, based off of the way I behave and the way I interact with people. So, I'm not really thinking about that on my day to day. I just try to be, fair and consistent with people and my legacy will be what it ends up being. But, I hope it's a good one. I hope it's something that, people look back and appreciate the effort and the hard work you put in to do things and that, you're able to make a difference in your community and the people you interact with. And eventually, they might go out and make a difference in the world. So, and you never know how that's going to happen. That's one thing I've kind of, as teachers, we kind of rely on is every once in a while you guys coming back, a few years from now and saying, hey, I appreciated having your class, or I appreciated you're my favorite teacher, something like that. Kind of keeps you going when it's sometimes challenging in the moment, because students are humans and you got to work with them, and sometimes that's not the easiest. But there's lots of good students out there though that and even some of the bad students or the students that are challenged, later on when they tell you, I appreciate what you did for me and thank you so much. That's where it keeps you going for the next one. And it helps you realize that, the challenges now will be success stories and they're going to do fine and they'll be good human beings that are a positive impact on their community from some of the efforts that you put in on them now.
Is there any advice that you would give to the students listening to this right now?
So I've got a poster in my office a few years back. Avid was doing, what advice would you give students? And so mine's a little unconventional. And basically what I say is, don't have kids, whether you're male, female, doesn't matter, just don't have kids and don't go into stupid debt. And so, which kids generate stupid debt because they're expensive. And so if you don't do that, you got plenty of time in the world to go do what you want and kind of, make your own way. And what I mean by stupid debt is you don't need, the latest Xbox, jet skis, motorcycles, lifted trucks, that's stupid debt because it's all superficial. It doesn't mean anything. Investing into a business, investing into your future through school, whether it's trade school, college, maybe buying an investment, stock market, a house, that's not stupid debt. It's dumb things that you really don't need that then you're stuck working to pay for that and it doesn't even last that long. Buy an affordable car instead of, something blinged out. That's what I'm talking about when I say stupid debt. So if you don't go into stupid debt, you literally could just travel the world if you wanted and work job to job and enjoy yourself and enjoy life. And if you find value in that, go for it, do it. Everybody's definition of success is different and, you've got to figure that out and go out there and make it happen. So, don't live for somebody else, live for yourself and then make sure that's something that you enjoy and be smart about it. So that way you can enjoy what small time you have on this planet.
That's all we have today, folks, and we'll see you next time for the next episode. I hope you, the viewers, enjoy listening to our podcast. And Mr. Morris, do you have any last words you'd like to say to the listeners before we wrap this up?
No, thank you for having me on. That was enjoyable. I had a good time, and so I hope you guys keep that up. And I'm very excited. Just got a history master's back in 2019, and to see this class develop and you guys be the pioneers of this class is really exciting because this is good stuff and history's good stuff and getting these different perspectives, that's what history is about. And so I appreciate all of you. Thank you guys so much for being the pioneers of this, and I wish you the best success.
Thank you for coming down for this podcast. Tune in for more of the Taft Heritage Show.